What is going on, bleeders? I'm Lazybed, and I hope you're all lit up like a stormin' Mormon, because we're about to come at you fast and ferocious for another installment of the JBR preview show, Bite Size Breakdown, Salt Lake City UFC 307 edition. Hold on to your butts. Up first, the only preliminary fight I'll be covering today, coming to you in the welterweight division. Number 11, New Mansa Joaquin Buckley takes on number 9, Wonder Mansa Stephen Thompson. The 30-year-old Buckley is currently on a 4-fight win streak, including 2 finishes and 2 decisions. Thompson is 1-3 in his last 4 and is well on his way to 42 years of age. With Buckley's recent evolution into a more wrestle-based fighter, I think the path to victory is perfectly laid out in front of him. I foresee a lifetime of podcasting and Christian mingle ahead for Steven. Give me the younger, hungrier Joaquin Buckley by decision. Next fight, the main card opener, and it ought to be a fun one, when number 15 and number 10 clash in the middleweight division. Trailblazer Kevin Holland will face off against Roman, and I can't believe he calls himself this, the Caucasian Dolidze, in a fight to establish pecking order at the back end of the 185 rankings. Picking this one could be a bit tricky. Holland is perpetually unpredictable when it comes to his performances, at times looking sharp and focused, but other times appearing flat and discouraged. Dolidze at one point was stringing together a nice run, but fell on a 2-fight skid before the UFC fed him a washed Anthony Smith to help right the ship. Either one of these guys can lose as easily as they win, so I'm going to look away from the skill and focus on age and conditioning. Now, I've seen the cardio of Roman Dolidze fail before, and at 36 in Salt Lake City, I just can't take that risk. Give me Kevin Holland by decision, with the possibility of an early KO TKO if Dolidze decides to push the gas and get smoked like a bifta. Second fight of the main card, and it's a doozy, so long as you're not one of those neckbeard dorks who's anti-women's MMA. Good women's MMA. Anyways, it's the sophomore outing of 17-1 former Olympic champion and seeming incumbent UFC champion, American top team's Kayla Harrison, as she meets a seasoned contender and UFC veteran with wins over multiple former champions, fighting out of Nova União in Brazil, the 14-3 Ketlin Vieira. Now, not much to separate the two on paper in the measurables department. Both women 5'8" inches tall, 33 for Ketlin, 34 for Kayla, with a slight 2-inch reach advantage going the way of Vieira. Reality may show different in the cage on Saturday night, however, with the physique of Harrison always on display and a strong likelihood of an overwhelming strength advantage. Logic would say Kayla ought to have the edge in every aspect of this fight. To be entirely blunt about it, outside of a scenario where Harrison gasses herself early, I can't imagine a world where Vieira can pull out a victory. For me, this is a clear setup fight to align Harrison directly for the next women's bantamweight title shot against whoever takes the W in the co-main later in the night. Give me Kayla Harrison Hurst Helmsley by pedigree in the second round. And on to the next one, your featured fight of the evening, the lead-in to the co-main. A bout that was initially slated to be on the fucking prelims, but disaster and travesty averted. The MMA Lab's Mario Batista will square off with former featherweight champion and King of Rio, Jose Aldo Jr. The legend Aldo returns to the octagon for his second fight since returning to the UFC after a brief retirement and successful stint in boxing. In his last fight, Aldo defeated Jonathan Martinez via decision. That fight took place in May. Now the 38-year-old makes his return just 5 months later, keeping a stronger schedule than active heavyweight champion and pound-for-pound #1 goat chicken duck, John Jones. Batista, who enters the bout with less than half of the professional experience as Aldo, is in his MMA prime at 31 years of age and sits on a commendable 6-fight win streak. I'm a fan of both these guys, so making a selection's tough, but I think I've got to ride the hot hand. Despite Jose looking great in his return fight, eventually his stock has to come back down to earth, and there's no doubt this fight is an extremely tough matchup. I see Batista having more than enough to hang in all areas of the fight with Aldo, and I think through willpower and pressure, he secures himself a hard-fought, meaningful win. Mario Batista over future BKFC champ Jose Aldo by split decision. All right, next, the co-main event. Well, what do you say about this one? So many opinions and takes to give when Juliana Pena faces off against current women's bantamweight champion. Psych, I'm lying. I don't got shit to say about this fucking fight. Give me Juliana by decision. That's it. That's the breakdown. And finally, the last fight of the night, your 307 main event for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship of the World. The Glory Killer, Khalil Roundtree Jr., challenges current champ Poatan Alex Pereira, live in Salt Lake City. Pereira comes into this fight as not only one of the most active champions the UFC has ever seen, but one of the most active fighters, period, within the promotion, with 10 fights since October of 21. Roundtree Jr. hasn't fought since December of last year when he defeated Anthony Smith, after which he would subsequently and voluntarily admit that he had taken a tainted supplement, forcing him to miss some time due to suspension. A lot of the fan base is split on this fight itself, with many feeling Magomed Ankalaev was overlooked and Khalil given an unearned title opportunity. Now, regardless of feelings, this is a scrap that's sure to deliver some fun and exciting moments. In his short time in the UFC, Poatan has racked up a proverbial who's who list of scalps in 2 divisions: Strickland, Adesanya, Blachowicz, Prochazka, and Hill. And all in relatively easy fashion, might I add. Roundtree has faced less stiff competition, but for the most part has starched them all in equally impressive fashion. Outside, of course, of his losses to Praknio, Cutelaba, and Walker, which did not age well. Ultimately, however, in a battle of kickboxing versus Muay Thai, I'm going to side with kickboxing in this one. I love Khalil's killer instinct. He has a mean streak a mile long, but I fear he's reaching beyond his ceiling here in facing Alex. A great guy with a great story, but he's found himself face to face with one of the more terrifying individuals to ever strap on a pair of UFC gloves. I'm taking Pereira in this one, and I do believe he gets it done by knockout. Give me Poatan over Roundtree by a 3rd round finish. Well, okay, bleeders, that was the JBR preview show bite-sized breakdown for UFC 307 from yours truly, Lazybed. Now, did you agree, disagree? How do you see these fights playing out? Drop us a comment below and let us know. Maybe we can engage in some healthy discourse about blood and carnage. As always, these selections are that of a complete casual, so all my advice should be taken with a bing rip and a grain of salt. We'll be back at y'all live and direct this Sunday for episode 24 of the Weekend Roundup. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and join us right back here at Just Bleed Radio after the fights. Until next time, later y'all. Peace.